Good evening. You're watching the main news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Anne Sim.
And I'm Emily Stu. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
MTRC to raise fares by 3.6% end of next month while trying to soften blow with concession package.
CY Leung says 20% cut in mainland visitor numbers is only one option among several being considered.
China claims Vietnamese boat rammed its oil rig before sinking in disputed waters. The MTRC is under fire after announcing a 3.6% fare increase starting at the end of next month, along with a package of concessions worth $500 million to soften the blow to commuters.
Lawmakers and concerned groups say the concessions don't go far enough, and the railway firm should not be allowed to raise fares when it's making mega profits while its services are slipping. The MTRC has already told the public it wants to raise fares by 3.6%, but the official confirmation by the management today was still unwelcome news for commuters. Starting from the 29th of June, ticket prices will go up for the 5th year in a row.
The overall adjustment rate for MTR fares in 2014 is calculated to be 3.6%. This is the figure to which the weighted average adjustment of all individual fares combined must equal.
What it means is that on average, passengers can expect to pay 20 cents to 50 cents more for their train trips. For example, a ride from Kowloon Tong to Admiralty will increase 50 cents from $12 to $12.50. The most expensive tickets will be for rides along the East Rail Line, with a journey to Lowell costing extra. The railway firm is insisting higher fares are necessary to maintain a high standard of service. And it notes that the hike is in line with the fare adjustment mechanism, which considers inflation, transport sector wages, and productivity to work out the permitted fare increase. But it's a tough time to ask commuters to dig deeper into their pockets, as the MTRC is under fire for frequent service disruptions and delays to major projects, even as it reaps mega profits. To soften the blow, the railway firm today announced a $500 million package of concessions and promotions. That's being added to the $2 million already earmarked for concessions each year. The cash will be spent in 3 ways. Firstly, an existing promotion which gives passengers a 10% discount when they buy same-day return tickets will be extended. Secondly, a new City Saver ticket will be introduced, which gives you 40 rides for $400 and lasts a month. And from September, a 25% discount will be offered to commuters who exit from the city's busiest urban stations between 7:15 a.m. and 8:15 a.m. Monday to Friday. The MTRC admitted the early bird trial scheme won't benefit most travelers.
From the experience of us in the past, as well as those from other places, the impact for the promotion, this type of promotion will range from a low few percent.
That's just not good enough for New People's Party lawmaker Michael Tian, who chairs LegCo's Railway Subcommittee. Among the changes he wants to the concession package, the former KCRC boss is suggesting the early bird discount be extended beyond peak hours, which would encourage employers to offer staff more flexible hours. The corporation denied trying to bribe its way into the public's good books, saying the concessions are part of celebrating the 35th anniversary of the MTRC.
We also think this is a good opportunity for us to increase the offer so as to thank our passengers for their support over the past 35 years and, of course, for the years to come.
Among those who are not impressed is Richard Choi, a spokesman for the Coalition to Monitor Public Transport and Utilities.
It's totally unacceptable. I think in principle that judging from MTRC's huge profit and also the poor service performance, especially the train disruption, that they continue to have a fare increase.
The MTRC can go ahead with the fare increase regardless of public opinion, but is not making friends along the way. In another victory for the government, the same LegCo committee that approved the Zhangguano landfill expansion has also approved building a waste incinerator off Lantau.
Despite filibustering attempts by Pan Democrats and a protester threatening to jump from the public gallery, the project will now be passed on to the Finance Committee for funding approval. Lawmakers had to wade through a 76-motion filibuster by Radical Albert Chan of People Power and Neo-Democrat Gary Fan. The pair resorted to the delaying tactic to thwart approval of an $18 billion waste incinerator at Shek Wu Chau, a controversial project related to plans to expand Hong Kong's landfills. The chairman of LegCo's Public Works Subcommittee, Lo Wai Kwok, warned at the beginning of the meeting that he would exercise his power to maintain order and efficiency if he found lawmakers tabling motions aimed at stalling the session. All 60 motions put forward by Chan and 17 from Fan were voted down. Adding to the delay, the meeting had to be stopped for a few minutes when a woman protesting against the incinerator threatened to jump from the public gallery, much to the shock of lawmakers. The woman was led away by security guards who referred the case to the police.
It's outrageous. I'm sorry, it upsets my values. I'm sorry, it really, really upsets me. And I remember C.Y. Leung. In his pre-election, he said very clearly there would be no incinerator in Sekyuchan. He said that.
Minutes after the drama, lawmakers eventually voted 14-6 in favour of the incinerator. The proposal will go to LegCo's Finance Committee on the 27th of next month for funding approval. The government insists the incinerator, to be built south of Lantau and about 5 kilometres from Cheung Chau, is urgently needed as the city's 3 landfills will be full by 2020. The incinerator will be capable of burning 3,000 tonnes of waste a day, and the ash will be transported to the Cheung Kwan O landfill by sea. But opponents are concerned the plant will pose a health threat.
No matter how advanced an incinerator, we would still see them producing toxic ashes. And if you don't have a plan in handling these toxic ashes, we are proceeding on very dangerous territory. These ashes should not be simply treated as ordinary landfill. They have to be designated in certain areas, and extra protections have to be taken in order to reduce any threats to the environment. And without such a plan, we think that we should not proceed with the incinerator.
Today's vote marked another defeat for the filibustering lawmakers, but another victory for the government on the environment. Last Wednesday, after 4 rounds of meetings during which more than 100 motions were rejected, the $2 billion Cheung Kwan O landfill extension got the green light from the same subcommittee. That proposal is also headed to the Finance Committee for final funding approval. There was also drama at a previous landfill meeting when residents, led by Sai Kung District Council member Christine Fung, caused a major disruption in the public gallery. The proceedings had to be adjourned and then transferred to another chamber. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has admitted floating the idea of slashing the number of mainland visitors to Hong Kong by 20%, but he's insisting it's only one of several options.
Leung says he will look at slowing down or even halting the influx that is upsetting locals, but nothing has been finalized. Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying had some explaining to do before his weekly cabinet meeting this morning. He was responding to revelations by members of the government-appointed Commission on Strategic Development that he had proposed reducing the number of mainland tourists by 20% to stem the influx that is causing much resentment in Hong Kong. About 40 million mainlanders visit the SAR every year, but most members of the top advisory body regarded a 20% cut as too drastic. The chief executive, who chairs the commission, admitted the proposal was talked about, but insisted that it's only one of several options being considered.
We discussed around the subject. Any new policy, I have to emphasize on the word any new policy cannot be such a precise tool to fine-tune the number of tourist arrivals, whether it's an increase or decrease by any percentage.
Leung said his government is still collecting views on how to deal with the pressures brought about by the influx of visitors from across the border.
The Hong Kong government has been listening to views of various sectors and been communicating with the central authorities and make sure that whatever we do, we arrive at this decision that is based on a complete understanding, a full understanding of the implications of any new policy.
Leung stressed that while the government is looking at slowing down or even halting the surge in visitors from across the border, nothing has been finalized. But he reiterated that the individual visit scheme, which allows residents of 49 mainland cities to come here without joining package tours, and the multiple entry visa scheme for registered Shenzhen residents will not be easily revoked or modified as they are central government policies. Retail sector lawmaker Vincent Fang, who's a member of the Commission on Strategic Development, said he was shocked to hear Leung's suggestion.
I don't know where this 20% comes from, and I don't know whether if you cut this 20%, how much effect would this on the whole economy.
Fang said the first thing that should be changed is the multiple entry visa scheme. He proposed that Shenzhen residents be allowed to enter Hong Kong only once a day.
We should study what percentage of tourists affect Hong Kong the least. Then I think that's the area we should cut first. Those who only come here for a day, to come back and forth a couple of times, those are the tourists that I think we should stop.
There was a public backlash last year after Commerce Minister Greg So released a report saying Hong Kong has the capacity to receive 17 million tourists annually in 3 years' time and 100 million a year within a decade. He triggered another backlash recently when he called for understanding and not condemnation from Hong Kongers who felt outraged about mainland visitors' children relieving themselves on the streets. Packages containing feces were sent to his home and office. Last year, Hong Kong played host to 54 million visitors, 75% of them mainlanders, frustrating locals who feel the quality of life is being sacrificed for the tourist dollars the visitors bring. The corruption trial of former Chief Secretary Raphael Hui and property tycoon brothers Thomas and Raymond Kwok has been held up after a juror failed to turn up for personal reasons.
The judge adjourned proceedings until tomorrow and reissued a gag order which had been lifted when the jury was chosen yesterday. The ATV's Arthur Kyoto reports.
Former Chief Secretary Raphael Hui was the first defendant who walked into the High Court this morning. Next to arrive was one of the two co-chairmen of Sung Hung Kai Properties, Raymond Kwok, who was followed by his older brother Thomas. Defendants Thomas Chan, executive director of Hong Kong's biggest developer, and former stock exchange official Francis Kwan were also in court. The corruption trial is Hong Kong's biggest, with the former number 2 man in government facing 8 charges, including misconduct in public office. Hui is accused of receiving $34 million in bribes from the Kwoks in exchange for favorable treatment. The former chief secretary is facing 5 of the charges, with 1 or both of the billionaire brothers. The case had to be adjourned for a day after one of the jurors failed to turn up for personal reasons. This came a day after a 9-member jury was impaneled, with Justice Andrew McRae telling jurors to keep a fresh open mind and not to read reports of the case or discuss it with others. The case will resume tomorrow morning, when prosecutor David Perry will make the opening submissions. But the judge reimposed a media gag order he had lifted just yesterday to keep a lid on sensitive details raised during opening statements. A total of 64 witnesses, including former government officials, are expected to testify during the trial, which is scheduled to last until October. Arthur Urquiola, ATV News.
The territorial spat between China and Vietnam intensified today, with both sides making counter-accusations over the sinking of a Vietnamese fishing boat.
Beijing is accusing Hanoi of dangerous actions, claiming the Vietnamese boat hit China's oil rig before capsizing. ATV's Ben O'Rourke reports.
Since Beijing moved an oil rig to waters around the disputed Paracel Islands earlier this month, mainland and Vietnamese vessels have been buzzing around the stretch of sea. It's resulted in collisions both sides have blamed on the other and strained ties between the two neighbours and longtime allies. The relationship sank to a new low today, literally, after a collision that sent a Vietnamese boat to the bottom of the South China Sea. According to Vietnam's Coast Guard, around 40 Chinese ships surrounded a fishing boat that got too near to the rig, and it was rammed by one of them. Beijing disputes the claim. The official Xinhua news agency said the Vietnamese boat capsized after harassing and colliding with a Chinese fishing boat from Dongfan on Hainan Island at around 5 p.m. yesterday. This afternoon, Foreign Ministry spokesman Qin Gang had a further explanation, claiming the incident was caused by Vietnam ignoring repeated warnings and insisting on forcefully disrupting China's normal operations by carrying out dangerous actions on the seas. He said the Vietnamese boat capsized after smashing into the drilling platform, which he emphasized is in undisputed Chinese territory. Chen urged Vietnam to stop its disruptive and damaging activities that were affecting navigation safety and normal fishing operations. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
Still to come on ATV's main news tonight. Hundreds of people in Macau defy heat to demand scrapping of bill benefiting senior officials.
And dozens reported killed as Ukrainian troops battle pro-Russian separatists.
ATV Anniversary 2014. Celebrities and stars gather to celebrate the remarkably magnificent event. Sparkling girls.
Don't call me, Harry.
Cross jeans. Prepare to be amazed by the most splendid celebration. ATV Anniversary 2014. Thursday night at 8. Simulcast on Home and Asia Channel. Only 2 days left. Tsunami is history. But how is today and tomorrow? Megaquake can provoke devastating volcano explosions and trigger another time of catastrophe. Japan is not the only victim. Scientists go out to meet the new challenge. See how humans can escape the hidden risk. All about documentary, The Next Megaquake, Thursday night at 10:05.
今晚唔使月 Mia 啦，佢去學電腦啊。
媽咪要聽收音機上堂啊！
咁今餐就由我哋洗碗啦。
好啊！
我新抱落嚟香港冇耐就報名上堂，就嚟畢業啦，仲叫我下學期一齊報名上堂添。
The Capacity Building Mileage Program provides a variety of courses for women who are interested in lifelong learning. Students are empowered to face challenges with a positive mindset.
Find out Britain's top antiques enthusiast. To be one step closer to becoming an antiques master. Contestants are eager to show their talents. Now, the competition starts. Antiques Master, Series 1, tonight at 10. Mr. Asia Craze, rocking the world. ATV Mr. Asia Contest 2014 is now open for online application.
Hundreds of Macau residents have staged a sit-in outside the legislative building to demand the scrapping of a controversial bill that would give generous pensions to senior officials.
But first, here in Hong Kong, an elderly man has been arrested after allegedly killing his wife with a hammer. Arthur Urquiola reports.
Police officers arrived at Wang Tao Hom Estate in Wong Tai Sin this afternoon to arrest a 76-year-old man accused of killing his wife in a violent attack last night. The body of the 78-year-old woman was removed earlier today. The man is accused of attacking his wife with a hammer in their 14th floor flat at around 10 last night. The police suspect the pair had an argument over how to share their welfare payments. Wong Tai Sin Assistant Police Commander Chow Tak Choi said there were streaks of blood all over the flat. He noted that the elderly couple had no history of domestic violence or mental problems. Police have launched a murder investigation. Macau entrepreneur and former political advisor to China, Ma Man-Kay, has died in Beijing at the age of 94. Ma, called a distinguished social activist and patriot by state media, had been treated in the capital for heart problems since 2002. He served as vice chairman of the CPPCC since 1998, before retiring last year. Ma was often compared with late Hong Kong tycoon Henry Fok, who was hailed as a patriot for exporting vital supplies to the mainland when large parts of the country were under Japanese occupation during the Second World War. Hundreds of Macau residents braved the sweltering heat this afternoon to stage a sit-in outside the legislative building. They demanded the government ditch a controversial bill offering generous pension packages to senior civil servants and immunity from criminal prosecution for the chief executive while in office. Although the bill was withdrawn from today's legislative agenda, the protesters are worried that a similar version may be tabled again before next year's chief executive election. The sit-in came after tens of thousands took to the streets on Sunday to oppose the bill, and Macau's biggest protest since the former Portuguese colony was returned to China in 1999. Arthur Urquiola, ATV News.
More international news, starting with up to 40 people killed in fighting between government forces and pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine.
While Russia is urging an end to the crackdown, the Ukrainian government has vowed to wipe out militants it considers terrorists. Here's Ben O'Rourke.
Fighting is said to be fierce between Ukrainian troops and pro-Russian separatist forces in the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk. Dozens of people have been killed since yesterday when the Ukrainian army used airstrikes to clear rebels from the airport in what was supposed to be a day-long operation. But shooting continued throughout the night and into today. The fighting came as Ukraine's newly elected president, Petro Poroshenko, vowed to stop the separatists within hours. The Malaysian government and British satellite firm Inmarsat have released the data they used to guess where missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 ended up. The information was released after pressure from relatives of the passengers. Many are sceptical about the official story, with some even suggesting the plane was taken as part of a covert operation and the passengers are still alive. But based on the data, international search teams have been scouring the seas in the southern Indian Ocean, where not a single scrap of evidence has been found to back up the theory. Inmarsat's technicians used communications between their satellite and the Boeing 777 to plot a presumed course. Critics argue the method relied on was flawed since the data does not show where the plane was or how fast it was travelling. Prime Ministers Narendra Modi of India and Nawaz Sharif of Pakistan met in New Delhi this afternoon for landmark talks between the two neighbours following years of tense relations. The two exchanged pleasantries during their photo opportunity before discussing issues of mutual interest. The meeting is seen as an attempt to rebuild diplomatic and economic ties between the nuclear-armed rivals, who have fought 3 wars since independence in 1947. Ties have been particularly tense since the 2008 attacks on Mumbai, which were blamed by India on Pakistan-based militants. Modi invited Sharif and leaders from all over South Asia for his swearing-in ceremony yesterday, after his right-wing Hindu nationalist party won a sweeping election victory. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
Time now for sports with Britton Clenett.
And the clock's ticking away to the World Cup.
Indeed, football's biggest party begins in just over 2 weeks. Countries hosting international tournaments usually have a better chance of winning because of tremendous home support. But this year, Brazil are in a peculiar situation. While they remain the favourites of neutral fans, soccer-mad Brazilians themselves have misgivings. Angry chants replaced the sound of the samba as teachers directed their anger at Brazil's star-studded World Cup squad in Rio de Janeiro. Teachers staged a noisy protest outside a Rio de Janeiro hotel as the highly paid footballers arrived ahead of a training session for the opening game on the 12th of June. Like other sectors of Brazilian society, teachers are outraged that a large chunk of the public coffers has gone to pay for the World Cup. Although Brazil is in love with football and has more than its fair share of stars, ordinary people feel cheated and want public money to be spent on the grassroots. "We're lacking resources," lamented this teacher. "My school has no water and chairs, and we are here to demand quality education." Most Brazilian footballers gracing pitches around the world have come a long way from their impoverished roots. Football officials hope that referring to the footballers' escape from poverty would strike a chord with other Brazilians and prompt an end to protests that threaten to spoil the party. "The national team is part of our cultural heritage," Technical Director Carlos Alberto Pereira reminded his disgruntled compatriots. There is no doubt Brazilians will support them throughout the World Cup. But as the Brazilian squad drove off to a training session, demonstrators surrounded their bus. The police were called in to help restore order, but protesters managed to get through a cordon and stick angry messages on the side of the bus. Many Brazilians feel that what their country needs most are hospitals, schools and better transport networks. While a record 6th World Cup would be welcome, many feel that should not be at the expense of the needy.
A look at the weather before we go. It was hot and sunny today. Temperatures ranged from 27.8 to 32.7 degrees, while the relative humidity was between 65 and 89%. Winds were moderate, coming in from the southwest. Let's check on the ultraviolet reading. The maximum recorded for the day was 10. Tomorrow's UV index will be about 10 as well. Now for a look at the weather in the region. A trough of low pressure is bringing showers to the coast of Guangdong. And now the satellite images. It's mainly fine over parts of southern China. Here's what we can expect over the next few days. Mostly sunny with a few isolated showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 28 to 32 degrees. More bright and hot weather apart from a few showers in the next few days. Here are the latest pollution readings under the Air Quality Health Index. General stations are at 4 to 5, meaning the health risk is moderate. Roadside levels are at 5. Finally, here's the weather around the world.
That's our main news for Tuesday night. We'll have an update in 1 hour. I'm Emily Sue.
I'm Britton Clannett.
And I'm Anne-Marie Sim. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Good night.
Coming up, check in current news, European Journal. Elemental Evolution, ATV Miss Asia Pageant 2014 is now inviting applications. Challenge humans' limits, even beyond those. Endure pain and strains. Conquer dangers and fears. Limits could be unlimited. You do just have to be a little bit crazy. Leisure Time, Chasing the Rush, Tuesday night at 8:30. Thursday night at 8.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Happy 57th birthday, ATV. Wish you all the best for many, many years to come.
ATV Anniversary 2014, Thursday night at 8. Simulcast on Home and Asia Channel. Only 2 days left. You're living in such a fascinating world, beyond imagination. Cameras can help you catch it. Take a close-up or wide angle. Every extraordinary moment is the marvel of super cameras. Super Cameras 3, Friday and Saturday night at 8. The Black Sea resort of Sochi is always a dream destination for holidaymakers. Enjoying a long tradition as Russia's #1 spa, it offers everything everyone dreams of. Leisure Time, Life's a Beach, Friday night at 8:30. Every year, their warm hearts enlighten our minds. ATV Hong Kong Loving Heart Selection Campaign 2014 is now open for nomination. The 5th year, we need more positive energy.
Hello and a very warm welcome to European Journal from Brussels. Good to have you with us. Coming up in today's show. European elections, the two leading candidates on the campaign trail in France.